Welcome to my channel. I am so excited you made it. On this channel, I'm going to teach you or show you how to turn your message, your gifts, your mission into revenue. I'm Prima Jope, and I have been able to create a multiple six-figure business from Uganda. I would love to take you through my process, my simple process, which will show you how to cut through the noise of the marketplace and in the simplest way, turn your mission into revenue, become a well-paid consultant, coach, expert, and add as much contribution as you want while charging really what you desire for your gifts. If that sounds like something you would love, hit subscribe and let's get into it. In 2020, all I knew is that was something inside of me that said you're made for more. Something that said you need to go out there in the world and share your message. Then I didn't know what my human design was. I didn't know that I was meant to really help people. I didn't know that I was meant to lead people, step into places. I didn't know that I was meant to help people navigate new moves, new ways to do things, step into the unknown. I didn't know my human design or anything of that. But what I knew is that there was something inside of me that knew that I was meant for more and that there was a way to step into this. I just didn't know exactly what I didn't know. And I recall my biggest problem was the inner game. Somehow my identity was wrapped around being in Uganda, living in Uganda, and have nothing to share with the world. My identity was wrapped around coming from a country that people were starving for food and water. And I was convinced that nobody would listen to me because of that. I was convinced that every video I did, that people would look at it and say, she's from Uganda, a country that has nothing. Like, what do I have to learn from her? I was wrapped around that, and that stopped me from doing anything about my business. 9 months later, I was online and I was struggling. That was in 2020. And I had been a business owner. I'd been successful for 6 years offline until COVID shut down my business. So I knew that I could do business. I could help people. But somehow when I stepped into the global market, I had this block that I wasn't good enough or good enough to be paid or good enough for a global audience. It was such a big deal that I didn't get anyone paying me because of that. And one day I landed on a video from a guy called Nick. His brand is Life Without Limbs. This guy has no arms, he has no legs. I watched his videos and there were thousands and thousands of raving fans. And people were putting in the comments, Nick, thank you for being you. I looked at this guy and he had no arms, he had no legs. And in the context of things, there was no proof that he would do what he was doing. And yet he was doing it. I'd listened to Tony Robbins, I'd listened to Oprah, I had listened to anyone and everyone that was famous because I wanted motivation and inspiration about my ability to do this. I wanted someone to give me permission to do this. And no matter how many people gave me permission, I still felt like, no, there's nothing I have to offer. Everything has been said. And nobody will listen to me because no one cares because I come from Uganda. Like I had that on my forehead and I decided my work wasn't necessary in the world. It doesn't matter who I listened to. I just didn't believe that I had something to share or that was necessary in the world. And I recall Nick opening his mouth and he said, you see, I have no arms and I have no legs. I could be on the street sobbing around it and telling myself this is my identity, or I could get the very thing that disqualifies me and use it to help people see that their own weakness is another person's point of intersection. In that moment, I thought, wow, I believe this guy. He has no legs, he has no arms, and he's changing lives. I said, if he can do it, I can do it. Now I started looking at my situation as an advantage. Now, if I can do this from Uganda, a country with hardly internet or power or anything, there is somebody that's going to see that and say, there's nothing that qualifies her to change lives. And if she's doing it, I will do it. In that moment, I decided that my work was important and necessary, and that there is someone out there only I could affect. And that is how I allowed myself to step into my work and start sharing it. I share this because, one, maybe you're in a similar situation, and maybe there's a reason why you think that your work is not needed. Or maybe there's a reason why you think everyone has said everything and you have nothing new to say. Or maybe, I don't know what your situation is, but you think you're not qualified to be helping people. And I want to really say that there is someone that only your unique experiences and your unique problems are going to give them permission to step into that thing which they've been wanting, but not giving themselves permission to step in. And this is why I love really serving best kept secrets. Because you are a best kept secret, and there is someone out there that is praying on their knees every day, asking God for the help that only you can give because of the unique circumstances and conditions that you have been through, because of everything that disqualifies you. And the reason you have this calling on your heart, the reason you know you're meant for more, the reason you have this message is because somebody's on their knees literally praying and crying for the solution. And only you can give this solution in a way that is relatable to them, in a way that they can believe it. Only you can be their next Nick. And I really do the work I do because I believe that somebody out there, their life depends on your work. And I want to support you in every way I can for you to put this work out there in the world, for you to add your contribution, and for you to be well compensated for that. I want to take you through a process, a simple process that I've taken clients through. This process has gotten me to multiple six figures. And this process has gotten my clients anywhere from 0 to their first client, to their first 10,000, their first 100,000. It's the simplest process that I have come up since I started. And I have had different processes, but this is the simplest. I can break down the process for you. The first step is clarity of mission. Really knowing why your work exists, for who your work exists, how uniquely you do what you do, your unfair advantage, and how this work is most likely going to go in the world and stand out. A lot of things happen here, including really understanding what your sales strategy is, understanding what your biggest advantages are, understanding what is it that makes you stand out, and really launching into the market in a way that only you can. Building a business that only you can build, building that brand that only you can build, like really having the clarity of your message and why it stands out. This is the point that most people skip, but skipping this point is like not having a foundation to a house and wanting to build 50 stairs of that. It doesn't go well. And so we take time and really, really answer a question. What is the problem that only you can solve in a way that you solve it? Number 2, who is the person that you can help the most? Number 3, how do you uniquely do what you do? What makes your approach unique? Next, why does this problem exist? Next, what's your sole strategy? Like, what is the advantage in your DNA that others don't have? What's that unfair advantage that you can bring to your work to allow it to be different? Because different stands out. And so we really want to position your work in a way that it is visible to the people that need it. This is usually the difference between people who are busy being busy and people who get clients. So when you're very clear in your own work, when you're very clear in the need and the gap that you see in the marketplace, when you have something that is well defined, you allow people to find you. That is the first place. And I feel like a lot of people are not very clear on the clarity of their, like they don't have clarity of mission. They have an idea, but it is so vague that when you begin to speak, whether in front of one person or a million people, no one knows what you're saying. No one knows if you can help them. And so there's people who are crying for the answers you have, but when you begin to speak, they don't know that you can help them. And so you start educating and you start convincing and you start doing all these things. But really what we need to do is get so clear about our mission in and out that there is no doubt when we step in the market what we stand for. Off of that, we move into offers. Like, what is the thing only you can offer? What is the best thing you can do for people right now? What is the biggest desire that you can give people? What is the biggest problem that you can solve for people? Sometimes you know it and sometimes you don't. And so if you do not know what that is, then I invite you to number 3, which is conversations at bank. Conversations at bank is really a flame of a conversation that you can take someone through to move them from cold to really in a place where they feel peace and joy about working with you. And it doesn't matter what the price point is. But conversations at bank is just like a non-sales way to have a natural conversation, to have a heart-to-heart conversation, which lands in a place of peace where somebody either decides to hire you or not, but they do it from such a place of empowerment that leaves both of you. But this is going to be the best way you can understand what offers might be perfect for you to build, might be in your power for you to build. This might show you the place where you can begin to kind of create your world from this place, knowing what it is that you can most do to shift people. Depending on where you are, you can start with the offer, but you can also start with the conversations if you're not sure what to build. But some people are very clear on what they want to offer the world, and so they just come with that. But sometimes you're new and you don't know. And the only way to know is to speak to the people who have the problem. And the last one, which is often underlooked, is the inner game. Resolving the fear around doing what we want to do. The fears that stop you from buying the next thing that you have to buy. The fears that keep you procrastinating. The fear that keeps you away from marketing your work. The fear that keeps you away from asking people for money. The fear that keeps you away from increasing your prices. Knowing how to resolve these fears, the fear of not being worthy, the fear of my work is not needed, the fear of no one will buy the thing, the fear of launching because you get crickets. There's so much fear of feeling into things that are inevitable in business. The fear of sucking. We know we have to suck before we're good. Most people have fear about sucking that they never start. Most people want to skip the sucking stage to mastery, but we really have to suck before we're masters. And really the inner game is that place where you can master your confidence from the inside and have the peace around going in and resolving fear of feeling things as it shows up for you and your clients so that you can step into the things that you want to step in. On top of this, I have a podcast called Best Kept Secret. In that podcast, I interview best kept secrets. I interview my clients. I interview people who have messages that I feel the world needs to hear. The reason I created this podcast is one, I want you to listen from these people, but also really the human being has a body, a mind, and a spirit. And for us to just talk about strategy is not really helping the human being. Because it doesn't matter how much money I make you if your health is going south. It doesn't matter how much money I make you if you don't feel good about what you're doing, if you feel out of alignment with your purpose and mission. And so what I have discovered to really help is looking at business holistically as a body, a mind, and a spirit, and serving all of the 3 parts so that we can get to the place that we desire, really turning your mission into revenue in a way that leaves you satisfied about your contribution in the world. And on the podcast, a lot of my guests talk about the inner work, the subconscious work, fears, trauma, and all of the things that internally can hold you back from stepping into the things that you know you have to do. The inner game is what keeps you from doing the things you know you have to do. What keeps you from launching the next offer? What keeps you from marketing yourself? What keeps you from increasing your price? What keeps you from saying I charge 50,000 for my offers? What keeps you from doing a lot of the things that we have to do to turn your message, your mission into revenue? And so I love to address this. I love to take people there. I love for people to really connect and resolve whatever it is that is getting in the way, but especially for you and the people that work with you, so that you can really give yourself permission to step into the thing that you want to do. From time to time, I will come here and give you a video about any of the parts of the process, whether that's clarity of mission, or whether that's conversations, or whether that's offer creation, whether that's marketing, whether that's selling, whether that's anything. As long as it's going to help us turn our mission into revenue in a way that feels true to us, that's the work I'll be doing. I'll also be going to the podcast and I'll look at the guest interviews I've done and I will try and summarize them, focusing on how does this apply to business? Because I have a lot of experts talking about life and how to step into your best life and how to overcome barriers and programming and patterns and all of these things, which I like to do because you bring yourself to the business. The business is an extension of you. So I love to have those conversations, because if we don't solve the problems you have, you will bring yourself to the business and the business won't work, not because of the strategy, but because you're bringing yourself to the business and you have unresolved issues. And so I love to have this holistic approach to business and to the work I do. And I love to really collaborate with a lot of people who've mastered a lot of areas and bring that all to you. But what I love to really do is like summarize those interviews so that you can kind of see in 20 minutes, how can you take this interview and apply it right now in turning your message into revenue? If that sounds like something you love for yourself, I hope you click subscribe below and become part of the community so that you get notified every time that I release something. And if you feel called to move further, I have a community on school where you can join for free right now. I don't know how long it will be free for, but I'm sure that after 100 people, I'll flip it to paid. Right now, it's a new community and I'm having it free for the first 100. And so after 100 people, I'll flip it to paid. But whenever you watch this video, the cheapest to work with me will be through school community, and it will be the cheapest you will ever see because that price will go up and up and up. I hope that whether it is through this podcast, this channel, or through one of my paid programs, that I will somehow see your message in the world, because keeping your work a secret really does not serve you, does not serve the world, and does not serve the highest version of you. I'm celebrating you, I'm sharing you on, I'm sending you my love and light, and I hope to talk to you very, very soon.